So you've all come here today for the Zootopia Anonymous panel, where we talk about our problems.
So what's your name?
Hi, I'm Dwayne, and I ship Nick and Judy.
Hi, Dwayne. You are welcome here. Excellent. All right, let's check our clock. 1 minute till official start.
Reminder, after the panel, we'll call a random number. If your number is called, you'll be winning this nice poster that might be signed by all of us, so check that out.
Do we have a Sharpie?
Yeah, I think we have a Sharpie.
Okay.
And then if you hang out longer, we also have some buttons around, so feel free to pick.
It's Judy. Welcome.
Hey.
Awesome. By the way, right before we start, I just wanted to go over, because we noticed on our Twitter the other day that we have one person that's sort of a big fan, and he's been sort of incessantly tweeting at people to come here. So if anyone was sort of, annoyed by that or found it bizarre, we apologize.
Yeah, we
did not tell him to do
one crazy fan that...
I'm sorry, okay? I apologize, alright?
Yeah, we apologize to you too, because he's all tweeting at you. We're like, who's this guy?
Yeah. Alright, got a few more people filing in. Alright, do you want to open up the... Oh, did you finish the tweet?
No, I need to...
Tweet first. That's more important than the entire panel, obviously.
Well, according to...
Wait, right? This model is correct?
Yes.
Spelled
Double check everything before you send tweets. I'm really obsessive about getting spelling and stuff correct in tweets, so if I see it's wrong, I'll delete the tweet and retweet it.
Yeah.
I always wish you could edit tweets, but for some reason, Twitter's like... I feel like it's because the idea of Twitter is that it's archival. Like this is a written in stone memory of past events.
You can't take it back. But you can delete it.
Is that wired? Move that mic that's nearest the yeah.
Jazz hands.
It's also applause in ASL.
Yeah.
Good?
No, I don't.
Boom.
Wait.
Ready?
Right to the beginning.
Okay, I think we would be two.
75.
Right button.
And wait in line just like everyone else, Mrs. Otterton, okay?
I popped the weasel!
Abandoning your post, inciting a scurry.
And that's the minute. That's minute 30. You guys ready? Yeah. All right.
I messed up tonight. I left another fight. I sold us up, but I'm just starting again. I keep falling down. I keep on getting around.
And if you've not heard us before, welcome to Zootopia Minute, the minute-by-minute podcast where we review, analyze, and scrutinize the hit Disney film of 2016, Zootopia. And I am so excited to be here for our very first live episode here at Everfree Northwest. How's everybody doing today? Good. All right, that's good to hear. Well, we have a very exciting minute to share with you, as we've all just observed. That was minute 30 of the film Zootopia. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, my name is Simmel, and over on the far end here is my co-host.
Choco, I'm sorry I have a sore throat, but hey, I am now a published author.
It's true.
Come buy a book at my booth.
All right, and we have a very, very special guest with us today.
Hi guys, I'm ACRacebest. Hello!
We were very excited to have on the self-proclaimed world's biggest Zootopia fan.
I try not to self-proclaim it, but I've had people be like, oh no, you got a problem, so.
So it's that support group coming in.
Yeah, well, you guys are my support group, right guys? Right? Thank you.
Very nice. All right, so yes, once again, this is minute 30, and if you're following along in the movie, that is from timestamp 30:00 to 30:59, and what an interesting minute it has been. We rejoin Judy in her chase of the weasel who robbed from the flower shop, something from the flower shop, and they're running through that awesome little mouse town, that mouse city, Little Rodentia as it's called. We see the weasel on the train, riding that little mini subway around, and going through a series of hamster tubes and things that happen to be arranged in a very nice way, kind of Tetrising through there. But eventually we run into a bit of a problem. We slide down into some square, hit one of those big donuts, because every town needs a donut shop that has a large donut on the roof for some reason. And Judy popped the weasel. But not all is right. Something's in trouble. She's in trouble with Chief Bogo. And she incites a scurry, as he says, and that's where the minute ends. We get cut off. That will often happen on this podcast. We don't like to sort of curate a minute so that it starts and ends on the right time. We just go with whatever the timestamp is. So, I don't know. Choco, did you have any specific thoughts to start us off with?
Well, I would just say the phrase, I popped the weasel, just doesn't sound specifically Disney-like. There's a lot of, I guess, misconceptions you had, especially if we're doing this at a furry con. Of course, we're not furry, so
we're not furries. I want that to be very clear.
Okay, sure. Oh, so I'm not a furry, is that what
you're not a furry?
I mean, we won't speak for you. I don't know.
Well, it's being shared up on Twitter by furries, of course.
Of course. Yeah, but I think that is a good point. Pop the weasel. Something we discuss a lot in our show is how the world of Zootopia works, this universe made of animals. And would a phrase like pop the weasel be considered racist, perhaps?
Yeah. We're just honest. It's like, I mean, it actually sounds violent, if anything.
Yeah.
Especially for a cop to say, it's like, I popped the child. It's like, you did what?
Oh my God. Popped a cat and a weasel.
Dear Lord. Yeah, no, I agree. That's an exciting little phrase.
Yeah. So we're in this mouse city again, and something we discussed in some of our previous minutes were the ways they engineered this mouse city. Our weasel villain is standing on top of this subway car, this train as it's going around, and he's sort of surfing on top of it with Judy running afterwards. And I can't help but wonder how that train is keeping its balance, first of all, and how those mice inside must be feeling.
A little contained. Now they, when watching, speaking about like the train, I'm curious if they have it almost set up in a way where like a monorail where it has like a double. Like I don't know why
it hugs the rail,
right?
So
I don't know why that'd be necessary. I'm sure they were like, just in case that weasel comes back, we'll be ready. But
it's not the first time this has happened.
Yeah, well, you can see the mouse engineer actually like freaking out. He's like, "What's going on up there?" It's a very short little segment, but you can actually see him in there with a face of terror. It's one of those things. In this scene specifically, and the one that preceded it, there's a lot of little things that are going on.
Oh yeah,
like there's
literally, it's a little city. So.
Aha. Literally.
Well, I'm more like, again talking about the mechanics of this world, because in our world we have pet mice and pet hamsters, so it makes sense we'll have things like the little running wheel, the little water device. But then we see all these little hamster tubes between the buildings above the train tracks, and they're all like bright neon colors. How will this work in this world? Like, did they actually engineer it, or did they actually go to like the
Who's to say the human designs for mouse habitation aren't inspired by the mice's own personal preferences? You know, maybe mice just inherently like those colors.
They like bright colors that.
Can mice see in color? Does anyone know that?
We should ask one.
I suppose so.
I mean, okay. I'm gonna ask you guys. How many of you like have a job that requires you to wear like a suit up there? So there's a couple of you raising your hands, but a lot of us probably have jobs that involve sitting at a computer, working at a desk, working indoors. Tell me, would you guys not love to have like, oh, I gotta go down to the next level and get on a slide and just like slide down? I feel like that's the equivalent. So they're like, well, let's have some fun. I want to have a
like
slide.
the Pixar or Google work offices, I guess.
Yeah, they actually have that, don't they?
I know Pixar, they have like a cereal
ball pit,
where they have like, you could go into this room and it's like all these different cereals, and you get to go and eat cereal there, whatever, for Pixar.
I want a cereal room at Pixar.
I think they also have like secret like little clubhouses built into the walls and stuff, and you go through a little tunnels and crawl through them.
I want to work at Pixar.
I've seen videos of these, they're amazing.
This is not a Pixar movie, although it is Disney animation.
You know, even Disneyland messes that up from time to time.
Really?
Yeah, in their merchandise section, you'll go and see all their pins, and every now and then I'll find the Zootopia pins under the Pixar logo, and I'm just like, sure, why not?
Well, Chaco, you were telling me when you went to, it was Disney World?
Disney World.
You went to Disney World, and he was saying that there was a surprising lack of Zootopia
There was
merch.
no Zootopia stuff. I even asked the employees, and they looked on the register, and they said, yeah, no Zootopia merchandise anywhere in the 4 parks.
I was just going to say Disneyland, which is down south from here, just a couple miles. It's there. I'm
Tacoma.
I'm on them, guys. I am on them at the resort. I'll go into every store knowing what the answer is. Be like, hey, do you guys have any Zootopia merchandise? And they're like, this is the jewelry store. I'm like, I know, but you're in Disneyland. I know at Disneyland they have pins that they still sell. They have, but as far as the merchandise selection, it is very small, and they'll acknowledge it. They'll be like, I don't know why we don't have a lot of stuff. It's kind of just this weird thing. I think they're going through a phase right now, because Moana, I noticed, had a similar deal, which was surprising to me, because I'm like, oh wow, a princess movie. But Disneyland does still have, after over a year, they have they put up this cutout that they handmade of Judy and Nick, and it's a Zootopia cutout for the Blu-ray. And every time I go on Main Street, I'm like, I can't believe that's still there. I'm surprised they haven't replaced it. So it still kind of lives on in some capacity. And obviously the walk-around characters are still at DCA, so at least we got that.
I just really want for something to beat out Frozen for having this basic monopoly on all of the Disney merch that's coming out. When did that movie come out?
2013.
That's insane. That seems like so long ago to me. But still, you see Frozen stuff absolutely everywhere, and they've sort of rebranded things. I think they even made the castle at Disneyland. They've rethemed it as. They won't let it go. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. It had to come out. Yeah. They even rethemed the castle in Disney World or something off of that, the Frozen castle or something. I would want to see the Zootopia skyline right there instead. If anything's going to beat it out, I wish it would be Zootopia.
They really should, we were talking about previous minutes, Animal Kingdom should reserve part of the park for a Zootopia type world.
Right?
Especially,
that would work.
They just opened Pandora about what does Avatar have to do with Disney and Beasts and stuff. It just does not work at all. Yeah, they just released the Avatar world.
They were like, oh, someone remade Pocahontas already for us, so we don't have to do it
and Ferngully and Pocahontas and Gone with the Wind and
that's not even a good IP, is it? No.
See that they can speed James Cameron work up if they buy Avatar.
Well, it's the same thing, kind of how Indiana Jones had a ride at Disneyland since 1995, but they haven't until recently owned.
Right, or Star Tours was the same thing.
Right. Yeah?
Yeah. I remember thinking the first time I went to Disneyland, or second, before I went before, but I was super young, don't remember anything. And there were Star Tours, and I'm like, wait a minute, Disney doesn't own Star Wars. And then the next year, they did own Star Wars, and Leia became a Disney princess.
they're like, ha, take that. Yeah.
All right.
Goodness. Well, the other thing about those colored tubes, since that's kind of where we started on with this, is it's very convenient to have, for the weasel anyway, to be able to fit into all these contorted positions as the train's going by, but there's no real practical reason for them to be arranged that way for these rodents.
That's what I love about it, though. It's like, why not?
Why?
Because there you go.
Well,
Yeah, as far as like
trying to be like a Futurama with those tubes or whatever.
Yeah, the suction tube. Maybe that is how it works. You just go through and it's like, just, all right, I'm off to the library now.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like getting into this panel room, how you have to go up to level 2, and then you have to go downstairs to like level 1.75,
Yeah.
and then make a left.
Yeah.
Plus there's that game show where you had to like the wall.
No, I was thinking about the human Tetris thing.
Oh my God.
Exactly. Or it's Japanese game shows, right? You've got someone like in a full body onesie, a jumpsuit thing, and there's this advancing wall with a shape, and they're like,
That's what.
oh no.
That's what we need. We need a Zootopia MXC. That's what we'll get.
Let's go!
Let's go.
All right. Well, as tradition, I always have the concept book with me when I watch this movie. And since you guys are here at the panel, we have some clips of the concept art for Logo Potentia. And here is actually the layout of how they organize the city. And one thing that I just noticed stuck out to me is a peace statue. Will be obliterated by police animals. So there's actually a peace statue somewhere in this little park area that we were describing like Central Park. And apparently the police animals destroyed it, but...
So we're talking about, yeah, the original concepts. This didn't necessarily make it into the movie.
Is that like the police like rioting? What are they doing there at the bottom? Little Sim.
Okay, so back when, so if you guys don't know, in the original version of this movie, Nick Wilde was the culprit that they were chasing through this. And it seems like the description says a group of large police animals following Nick from a police car building across the street.
Oh, thank you.
I can't read.
Thank you so much. I needed these.
Hey!
Someone brought these for me.
Now I recognize you.
Yeah. You've got your fox hat, so I needed, if they stay on my head anyway. Perfect.
Well, before we move on to Nick, let's talk about the makeup of the building, because like we were saying, how this city seems to be made up of things that you'll find within the human world. In some of the original concepts, they had things like the streetlights would be made out of Christmas lights. And we're talking about, that means you will need a furry Jesus for there to be Christmas lights in this world. So
they do reference like God and the devil, and so I mean it is in there in Zootopia.
It's those like cultural things. Like that's something we discussed too. Is there's certain things that they might have included in the movie just for the sake of being recognizable. For instance, in a world where there are no humans, why would you have a domesticated looking pig, a pink pig with a curly tail? You'd have something more like a boar. But I think, the little kids might not see, they might see the boar and think, what is that? It's not a pig.
It's funny too when considering like the directors that you guys probably know have people have asked like, where are the dogs and cats? And it's like, well, without humans, there's not going to be domesticated dogs and cats. That's why you have your wild wolves and leopards and stuff. Yeah.
All right. So would you guys like to see a clip of one of the deleted animatics featuring Nick in the scene? All right. I love these. Pause that. Just start over again for everybody.
Have like seen some stuff because like that one guy's just like,
oh, just another Saturday. Well, the first thing I note in that clip is how many things were kept. Yeah. We have the donut. The donut was still there. We have the buildings being knocked over. That was actually the previous minute in the movie. We have the weasel hopping off the top of these rows of apartments, and you get this domino effect, and they all get tipped over. And we saw that in this one as well. Yeah, we discussed that too.
They're like, here you go, here's some crates, make some houses out of them.
So what happens in an earthquake if your building has no foundation?
They just like all shipped 3 feet.
Oh, my address changed. Let me just, that 8's a 3 now. Okay.
Where'd my house go? Yeah. No, it, also, in that scene, as it said at the beginning, Joaquin Baldwin, he's one of the art dudes on Zootopia. He, when he uploaded this, the first thing that I caught when I watched this scene was the way that Nick like throws Judy off of him, and you just see her just go flying away. It's like, see you, rabbit. Goodbye.
Very aerodynamic.
See you in space.
She landed eventually.
It's Space Jam. It's turned into Space Jam.
She originally wanted to be an astronaut too, but
So we're currently looking at a piece of concept art where Nick appears to be in some type of prison jumper. So it looks like he's escaping. And if you guys have seen the, I guess the early versions of this movie, it was a little bit more dystopian. We won't get into it exactly. But one thing that actually Simone and I both noticed is that there's actually 2 versions of this one specific piece. And it's just, it changed the buildings a bit in both scenes.
So we'll go back and forth there and see if you can spot all the differences here.
Find all the differences. One thing is, there's a dandelion right there.
Yeah, there's this giant dandelion here, which when I looked at this picture, I said, how small are these mice? Or is that just a huge dandelion? Because maybe that could be a mouse, and that guy in front of the donut shop could be a mouse to the dandelion, but he's also in the foreground. The dandelion's way back there. That means the mouse is like...
Osmosis Jones size?
Yeah, basically.
Who's the landscaper here? It's like, dude, cut your weeds.
Or maybe that's just like a tree to them.
Yeah, it's ornamental.
Got the chainsaw to take down the
But yeah, you can see how the style of some of these buildings changes in the background. We lose some of the more distant buildings. They're replaced by some other things. It goes from a more sort of curvy, organic style to a more rigid, like Manhattan kind of,
there's like a
windows on there.
Hey, look, Notre Dame's in the back of the other one. It's like, hey, look, there's Hercules. Just kidding. I know Hercules isn't in Notre Dame, guys. Did no one else catch that mistake that I just made? Saber, did you catch that mistake?
Don't worry, we're recording this.
It's squirrel, right?
It's rabbits, not squirrels.
And here we have a piece of art with Judy holding what looks like a taser gun, and we have one scared mouse citizen looking at.
I'd be afraid too. Look at her face.
Look at that intense.
Because, this is essentially kaiju at this point, right? It's like Godzilla running through the city.
We were talking about in the previous minute how big Judy is compared to these mice. It doesn't actually work out proportionally to how rabbits and mice are in real life. So in this world, they made her much bigger than she would in reality appear. So
yeah, size discrepancy between animals is something we've discussed a lot in the past too, and the interesting, unique engineering challenges that would present for when you're designing such a complex city as Zootopia. You have to accommodate animals of varying morphology, and you see a bit of that in some of the earlier minutes too, and they sort of show it in a fun way. You got the giraffe picking up his Slurpee with like that elevator that brings it way up to the top, or the giraffe car with the giant window so his head can fit through it.
Those things must roll over all the time.
Oh man, it must be so top heavy. That's a really good point.
We were talking about how does a giraffe car, how does a giraffe in one of those big cars even see the little tiny mice car?
Yeah.
Like, how do they not run over each other?
Yeah, because the scene before this chase all started, Judy was giving out more parking tickets, right? And she gives out a ticket to this mouse, which is in, it's expired parking or whatever, but your mouse car is this big. That's not taking up the same amount of space that your lion, your horse, whatever car is going to take up. So why do they even give you a ticket the same way? You can fit like 50 mouse cars in that same space.
How can you even see the mouse cars? If you're a giraffe trying to park, how would you not see that mouse car somewhere in the little gutter area?
Yeah.
You just risk it. There's like a mouse that's just like gone rogue. He's like, I'm going in the big street.
Yeah, it was like traffic.
This was a bad idea.
Well, that was the thing. We were wondering if they're actually divided. Like, do mice actually have to commute out of this little rodent resident to actually get to the big city, or do they have specialized tunnels that they could go through? We don't know.
Oh, like an underground thing could work too. Well, it's like, they use the same train, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The sets of large door, then a medium door, then a small door. Earlier when that train arrives.
Going through that the weasel was riding, it was just a small.
It was
train.
just a small train. So I figure that's either. What if that train isn't just in that city? Maybe there are other little mouse communities that are the same way, and that train goes underground between them. That could work. Because otherwise, I figure we got to imagine it's not just a huge difference in scale for the mice, and that things are larger, bigger than them, but distances are further too. So I figure it's kind of like, voyaging across in the pioneer days. It's like, oh, I'm going to the other mouse town. Be careful. Pack enough days food.
They got like a wagon train.
Oh, yeah. Henry died of dysentery.
It'd be kind of mean, like, if they actually when you look at the layout of where Little Rodentia is, it seems like it's pretty central to Zootopia. So these mice had to, like, travel through the city to get there. It's like, why didn't they just put it on the edge? Like,
The
almost out here.
Migration.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions. Is there a Q&A section to this later on?
Yes.
Yeah, towards the end we got this mic up.
Save all your questions till later.
I will save it. Thank you.
Excellent.
All right, so here's the entire concept art. So here we have Nick probably fell down or he's laying down, but he's looking over at a rodent restaurant. All these little rodents are just kind of looking at him, kind of confused, halfway eating their food. We don't know what's happening. Weird out of context scene, stuff you see on Fur Affinity, I guess. I don't know. Pro macro stuff. Don't get the mic. No furries there. Never mind. That's good. We're not furry.
Well, I do want to bring that up again because that was just so bizarre to me when you brought that up. When we first saw this town, you mentioned that there's a disproportionate amount of fan art for this scene on like furry art websites in different places.
So if you look at Zootopia on furry themed websites, you'll see a large portion of Zootopia fan art takes place in this city. Normally having Judy trying to tiptoe around the buildings, which apparently is something in the furry fandom that people like, drawing large creatures.
Yeah, it's called macro, I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's something that kind of, for us being not furries, it was kind of like a weird thing that we had to realize. And we found out that the furries had one of the most dedicated wikis ever. And all we had to do was just type in micro macro, and they already had this big detailed page describing this is why we like large creatures, because it's so fun to be dominant in a small city or something like that.
The more knowledge we share about our perception, our knowledge of the furry community, the more it erodes the idea that we're not.
I watched the CSI episode on furries. I'm an expert.
Oh, you're informed. You're very informed. Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So, what do you guys think about this one image? It looks like Nick didn't fall down. Maybe this is another version instead of him face planting after the donut. Maybe he just landed on his back.
This is actually the moment that Nick found out that mice eat foxes. See how hungry they are.
Yeah. That's not fear. That's just
food.
Yeah.
Mice eat foxes? Are we talking about Zootopia or Soylent Green?
Soylent Green. It's foxes. And in fact, restaurant is my favorite mouse restaurant. Indeed.
I know. It's like you're like in shows you see like dog food, and it just says dog food on the label.
In Canada, there is a very generic brand that's just a yellow package with black text, and it's like a big generic food brand in Canada. If you go to Canadian grocery stores,
So
is it called No Name?
It's called No Name.
Yeah, No Name. They're not sponsors.
That's funny.
We're name dropping that which has no name.
We saw from the deleted scene.
That would be a parody product.
Well, again, we're gonna have a Q&A at the end
No,
as well.
I was trying to make a point. In the deleted scene, we see Nick literally face planting and just dragging his head right into the ground. And in this, we see Nick's head. So, where would the theory be on how would his head be basically destroying their ground?
I don't think it's necessarily true that like this follows what happened before, or like I don't know. Do you know where that is? Yeah, this is also
like out of
speculation.
context.
So this could have been developed entirely separately from that scene.
Because they went through so many different variations of the plot before they finally settled on the movie that we had. And in this version,
a spy movie.
Oh yeah, the original one was a spy movie, and then Nick was the protagonist, and it shifted to the kind of dystopian type feature where I guess predators are treated as lesser citizens. They had a shock collar on. I think there was at least 3 versions of that trap where Nick was the protagonist of all 3. And finally, it was when he decided to shift the protagonist role to Judy that we finally got the main version of the movie that we had consolidated, which would make sense because that would put her in this unique position of being a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed new cop to this big city and realizing that, you know, not everything is nice and perfect, which was the themes they were trying to get with the last, I guess, 4 incarnations of the script.
It's interesting too that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe it was 9 months before the movie came out was when they actually locked in that story. They're like, oh, there we go. That for an animated movie, I mean, in general for any movie, but like that should have been like a red light there. You hear about like other movies that have had issues with story, and it's like, oh, we changed it at the last minute. I'm gonna just name drop The Good Dinosaur is one that had a lot of changes happening, and it didn't do so well. To find out how well this movie did, and also how many changes were happening to it, obviously, I don't know if everybody would argue this, but for the better, it's just
it's strange. Sometimes some of the best movies and works that have come out were ones that were under such restricted conditions, like Citizen Kane, the magnum opus of cinema. That one was done with Orson Welles having so much restrictions, especially the movie it was based on. Who's the William Randolph Hearst, the newspaper magnate. He was trying to sue the movie and get rid of it, and they had to work under that pressure, and they came out with a beautiful film. Or I guess since you guys are all fanboys or fangirls, the original Star Wars.
So you are.
Yeah, the original Star Wars, New Hope. You could see that if you saw the original version of the script, the original cut of the movie, it was a horrible mess. It was saved in post-production editing. And the original version that Lucasfilm was just horrible. Like Han Solo was apparently supposed to be a frog creature. CP3O was a sleazy card salesman. Even the
I want to see that.
Yeah, wait a minute.
I mean, apparently even the original version of Darth Vader's voice, he didn't have the James Earl Jones voice. He had some haughty British accent, and you can see clips of this original.
Yeah, well, because the guy, someone will have to remind me what the name of the actor who was in the Darth Vader costume, his name was, but James Earl Jones dubbed over that. But the guy in the costume didn't know that at the time. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, but he had a very weird sort of higher pitched, and I think it was a Scottish accent.
When you killed my brother!
Just very unfitting. By the way, on the topic of Star Wars, very quickly, I don't think we could continue without giving a quick shout out
to the inspiration. Our show was inspired by the Star Wars Minute, which was a show put on by comic book writer Alex Robinson and Pete the Retailer, and they inspired a bunch of minute-by-minute movies. So if you like the format we're doing for Zootopia Minute, make sure you check out their Star Wars review called Star Wars Minute. I think they did all the original trilogy, and they are now on the Clone Wars right now, and they have inspired so many different minute-by-minute movies, including Indiana Jones Minute,
Jurassic Park,
yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
But we are the youngest to the family. We're reviewing the newest film. Most of the films that have been reviewed are all 80s and 70s.
Right, they're like cult classics.
Yeah, we're the only ones in this decade. So.
Logan's Run Minute, or Soylent Green Minute.
Which is actually more interesting because while their movies that they were reviewing, they have like decades to kind of go over it, have the fan culture develop, have all these theories develop. We are reviewing a movie that just came out within the last year, and we could review this movie as things are happening. Like it won the Golden Globe, then it won the Academy Awards, and we could see all these new developments within the fandom. So we're actually reviewing something kind of live and organically, which we haven't seen with the other ones. Big shout out to Star Wars Rant, so make sure you check them out if you're interested in our podcast. So.
All right. So, do you have any more art of the city you'd want to go over before we move on? I
think that's it.
I want to make a point then. Right here. Oh, back to the donut.
Yep.
So, I only found this out recently that the big donut that they have here is actually based off of an actual donut shop nearby where they actually made the movie called Randy's Donuts.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, so Randy's Donuts. And they had a, for the anniversary, which also happened to be like a week after they won the Oscar,
It was. I remember we did a special episode celebrating those two achievements.
Yeah, and they actually had a gathering at Randy's Donut, and there were a bunch of people that came out. Like Rich Moore was out there. Clawhauser's voice actor was out there.
Of course, at the donut shop.
Of course. And it was really cool, like just seeing how many people were still like excited about the movie. You know, a year and a couple weeks later, it's like, wow, check this out. Well, it actually was exactly a year because it was a 1-year anniversary. But yeah, so it was interesting finding this out. That it was based off of the Randy's Donuts down in LA, and they have a very small parking lot, and it took 30 minutes
it's between two streets coming at an angle, kind of.
It was terrible because I pulled in,
Flatiron building of donuts.
like, oh my god, there's all the people, and then I had to go through the drive-through to get out of the parking lot, and like 45 minutes later, I got out of there, but. Yeah, tiny little, just like this actually.
Just like a tiny donut shop.
The donut shop was also used in Iron Man.
Yeah, Randy's Donuts makes cameos in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of set. It's the origin of the trope of the donut shop with the giant donut on top. Essentially, that's where it comes from.
I think it's in Mars Attacks too. Like not necessarily that, but there's like a donut shop like that. But well, that was an interesting movie.
Yeah, it was a very weird movie.
Well, now that you brought up Clawhauser and the donut, I want to mention that in the minute we watched, when Judy rolls the weasel in the donut into the police station, you kind of see Clawhauser holding a donut, exactly like the donut he's trapped in, but then he like kind of puts it down and starts looking at the giant donut. I don't think he even noticed.
He's not like, oh, there's a weasel in the donut. He's like, look at that donut. I want that donut.
One of my favorite moments of that though, when they do end up back in the police station, is when Bogo yells "Hops," and right after that you hear this like really subtle "uh-oh." Like it's,
do we really? I think I may have missed that.
Yeah, you do hear that. It's hilarious because it just like kind of goes to show like they know she's screwed. Like Bogo's pissed.
Chief, buy one get one.
Every time I see that, every time I see Bogo sell in like Target or something, I'm like, finally, all right, Chief Bogo stuff. All right.
Well, before we migrate entirely to the police station, I think we should bring up the lovely mouse lady with the New Jersey accent.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we have this donut bouncing along, and a lot of these mice see it coming, and they're able to get out of the way, but she does not. She's just coming out of Mousie's, the department store. That's a
lovely frou-frou.
We're adding that to the pun list.
Yeah, that's another fun thing.
You guys don't know we've been analyzing all these little puns and seeing how they compare to Bojack's puns, because Bojack has some of the best animal puns out there.
Targoat.
Okay, that's the thing I want to bring up because I'm upset with that. Okay, these mice apparently are high-end mice, right? Why are they shopping at Target? The Target equivalent. Target is not a high-end store.
Hey, sometimes you gotta save some money. She's getting married.
Target's got some decent stuff, I think.
Well, they had Zootopia merchandise. Come on.
I like their exclusive color from Blu-ray.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that one.
That's
the red one.
There were so many colors. I was like, I need all of them, and Sarah would only let me get 3 of them. We have 4. That's true. We have 4.
Well, so we have Mousie's, which is based on Macy's. We have Targo, who's based on Target. But one thing that character says that we're talking about how in this world, the different phrases like Pop the Weasel might appear racist. She says, oh my god, you see those leopard print jeggings. So in this world, leopards actually exist as real sentient citizens.
Right.
Why would you buy, I guess, print jeggings that are based off the skin or the fur coat of another, creature?
Maybe it doesn't seem as bad.
The leopards.
Yeah, right. No, I don't know. Maybe it's just less. I don't know, like, because we look at it, we compare it to like, oh, racism, but there you got like species, a bunch of different species. Maybe it's just accepted differently. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you like leopards. All right.
That's the thing. Well, the thing is, I don't know. That's a major theme of this movie. Is prejudice or discrimination, right? The whole predator.
So I'm glad you said it that way. By the way. Yeah. Some people are like, no, it's about racism. Technically.
Yes. I think we agree on that. We could go on, but it's something we see coming from every direction, really. We have Judy's parents showing prejudice against foxes as she's going off to the big city earlier. It's like, oh, you need to take this fox spray, this fox taser. That's a fun one.
Somebody had to make that. Like, there's a company selling stuff specifically against.
I want a Zootopia branded taser. taser? Are you kidding? A stun gun?
Well, a callback to our previous episode, I think the Alex Jones of this world probably is possible.
Yeah.
Taser.
You can get them at Disneyland. They're great. Yeah.
You can get a taser at Disneyland?
Yeah, Fox taser.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, no, that was another thing we talked
I really hope everybody's taking that seriously. They're like, oh, I didn't know that.
Let me just write that down here real quick.
A lot
Yeah.
of good stuff you can get. You can buy a sword at Disneyland. Like a straight up sword.
Like live steel?
Yeah.
Wow. Where do you go? Oh, is it in the store that's embedded into the castle?
Yes,
That
it's
one?
in Fantasyland.
That's right. Yeah, I should have known that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we do see Judy just in the nick of time grab that giant donut before it smashes the mouse. We do see it does make a little bit of contact. Her hair goes whoop, just a little bit.
Does that character actually have a name? Because I tried to Frou-Frou, okay.
There you go. Yeah, so, and then we get that nice
I have a
comment.
Frou-Frou pin.
Do you?
Yeah.
Excellent. We get that comment, I love your hair.
Oh, thank you. I really like your mane.
I really like your mane.
There, now it's a pony panel. All right.
Yeah. We were wondering what the interest would be here, but we've got a nice...
Good turnout, guys. Thank you for coming out.
I really like mine.
Yeah, so she catches that big donut, and that last thing we see before we get to the police station is wham! The weasel's view of that donut coming over on top of them.
I love just watching the little clips of her face. Like she is like done with this weasel. And hey, I mean she had a makeshift detain. It was good.
Yeah. And it's very convenient that Judy was there. If she hadn't been there, those big animals like before just trouncing through there, trampling over everything.
So that was the thing we were trying to discuss with the previous 2 minutes, because the rhino officer said, hey, wait for the real cops.
Yeah, wait for the real
cops. But Judy is supposed to be the smallest mammal in this police precinct. So what other animals would be able to get into this world?
Theory.
The fingers coming out.
Yes, the theory. I feel like the only way this works is if the mice have their own separate police department.
That's the same thing we're thinking.
Yeah, it's the only way. It's like, what's a rhino gonna do? Like, all right, we gotta investigate.
But
it's off the roof. Like, what are you gonna?
But we were thinking let's say it's a privatized security force or a security force that only the mice do, or if they don't have a security force, that would mean that it will be open for kind of a mob rule. The mafia will be asking for protection and stuff, and that kind of makes sense in the context of the movie. No spoilers for future minutes, but it does make sense in the context of the movie that there might not be a security force within this town, and normally when you have cities without security forces, the mafia takes over.
It's privatized security in the form of mob rule that way. So
protection money.
Things are tying together that way.
There's one thing, like I obviously love this movie.
No.
But since you mentioned scrutinizing, I'm gonna throw out one little, point of interest.
Sure.
Is the way that when she grabs Weaselton and they go spinning around, and then he goes flying towards the donut shop, and then you see where she comes running after him. If you look back behind her, you can't actually see where they came flying from, but he flew in a straight line, so in theory you should actually be able to see the tracks. He should have landed on the tracks, but maybe she just threw him extra far.
So we have some geography that's not consistent between shots.
But I'm not going to bring it up because I love this movie for everything.
Thank you for not bringing it up, not mentioning it. Perfect.
Good turn. All right, good turn.
Alright.
It was the gravitational pull. It's a really weird world that they live in.
So,
They just may turn in the direction.
So, I'll accept it. Like I said, I'll give this any excuse to make it work.
So we have 2 more pieces of concept art when we had Nick as the main protagonist in this chase, and we have him in this little red prison jumper, and we see the weird clock towers surrounding this town. So it's kind of interesting. I think it has a London-like vibe, especially with the London-looking bridge in the background. And this is the scene I like because it was actually drawn by the director of the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, and you have Nick kind of looking more aggressive.
See, it's kaiju.
Yeah, kaiju.
That's what's going on.
It's like Godzilla.
Yeah. Actually, you said it has sort of a London feel, but when I look at that gate with the clock towers, to me, it yells train station. That like curvy roof going on, it looks like a train station or a subway type deal. So maybe if there are mouse trains connecting between different rodent communities, that's the main thoroughfare, the way to get there.
It does seem like the clock tower is consistent because there's another version of the concept for the city, and the clock tower is consistent, except now it's one single large clock tower. And if we go to the final piece, there's still the clock tower in the city. So for some reason, I guess they want to keep this clock tower motif in the city.
I have a tangent here. I'm looking at this.
I have a cosine.
Math jokes. At the bottom left, we have the street cleaning mouse going around his duty. Like, imagine on a windy day when a napkin lands in the ocean. It was like, oh my god!
This is why we don't litter, people. One man's trash is
Think of
another
Little
man's.
Rodentia. It's probably their PSAs for it too.
Yeah.
All right. So are we good with the city now?
I think so. I think we can move on to the police station a bit more.
All right. Police station's fun. I have no thoughts for police stations.
Yeah.
It's the first time we see Mrs. Otterton.
That's true. That is true.
What's she there for?
Yeah.
She's there for. She seems very persistent. More an otter.
Yeah, so we get into the scene and Clawhauser is talking to this otter lady.
Looking at the giant donut.
Yes, the giant donut rolls in and he's mesmerized. Because, I don't know, that seems unprofessional. You're talking to someone who's come to see you about something important, you're just like, yeah, that's nice.
Well, I'm more fascinated that if you guys go back and look at the minute the low station Clawhauser is sitting in is kind of like one tube-looking device. Like there's like a half circle on the top and half circle on the bottom. It kind of looks like a sci-fi Star Trek-like spaceship he's sitting in. Don't you agree?
Almost. I have to.
It's like very empty, and all of a sudden you have this middle booth that he's sitting in. It's all circular.
When he comes to his job, he just like rises out of the floor. Just.
It's like really.
There's no bottom half of him. He's just a robot.
But it's a really interesting architecture, especially for a police station like this.
It is. Well, yeah. Everything in this city. I want to know if they put thought into would this city have grown up the same way other cities do, where it's very organic, and over time the aesthetic influences of the day change. So, you know, if you look at the Manhattan skyline, there's old Art Deco stuff, Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, all that stuff. And then there's very new ones with the sleek, all glass exterior on the outside, you know, like the New World Trade Center and stuff like that. We were thinking, because this city seems so planned, you know, we've got these big climate control, like mega project engineering stuff going on to keep these different biomes in order. Is this the type of city that could sort of just grow slowly or over time, or would it had to have been planned from the beginning, like all these animals live somewhere else and it's like, here's our spot, here's where we will build the great animal city?
It feels like it would have had to have been like majorly planned out.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm sure you guys have heard, you've seen it in previous minutes where, you know, talking about the heater to the cold transition they have, they actually consulted a NASA engineer for like
really
that kind of thing to talk to him about how can this actually be made into a reality. And so they did actually like go to professionals about like how can we make this world work. You know, there's certain things that are, so to speak, man-made as far as the weather. Or I guess animal-made.
Yeah.
Like when you see the rainforest, there's sprinklers
in the trees, and there's a nice piece of concept art for that as well, showing a cutaway how there's piping going through there.
Really? Okay, yeah. So it's like I feel like they would have had to plan that.
Yeah, we were talking about it had to be planned when we were watching that minute, because I think if you listen to some of the interviews with the people making the movie, they said it was planned out in a way so that all the the Sahara place would be right by the tundra town. So the heat from the Sahara would melt the snow from Tundra Town, and that melted snow would become the water for the rainforest district. So all these three ecosystems, they only work together.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing when I really appreciated the fact that the Sahara area, the desert area, I never remember their real names for some reason. Tundra Town and Sahara Square, they border each other.
Yes.
And as the train is coming in an earlier minute when Judy's arriving in the city, you see that transition where there's heat being blasted out into the desert side and then the other side is all cold. That makes sense, because if you're going to have refrigeration on one side, the heat has to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. So it totally makes sense. It's like, oh, well, we got to keep this end cold. We can make that end hot, like how there's hot air coming out of the back of your refrigerator. Basically, it's the same way.
And that's where all the melted water goes. to the rainforest.
Yeah.
So
It's really well thought out, actually. So let's see here. We've got just over 10 minutes left. Would you guys be interested in doing Q&A?
Yes.
Okay, a few people. So let's very quickly sort of wrap up what happens with the minute. The very last thing we see is Bogo calling Judy into his office.
Yeah. Looks very angry.
He does. I mean, he seems kind of like he's been a grump this whole time, like as far as we've seen
You
him.
don't want Iljish to yell at you.
She's so proud of herself until that very second, and she goes, "Oh, I screwed up." It shows up there in the scene, but one of my favorite things to watch. For those that don't know, I saw this movie more than once in theaters.
No way.
30 times in theaters. One of my favorite things to watch are her ears. They're so expressive.
Oh yeah.
And there's an immediate, uh-oh, I'm in trouble over there. But yeah, Bogo.
No, you were right. She was really happy and gung-ho because we were talking about after she was the pig who was running the flower shop told her to go chase after the weasel. She got really excited, and from that point on, she felt like a real cop.
I'm doing the right thing.
In fact, we were saying that the Weaselton character, he's the first character to acknowledge Judy as a cop right away.
Yeah.
Because everyone else, from her police academy officer to the elephants to almost every other character, always thinks of her as a meter maid or something else. And the Weasel's the first person to say, "Try to get me, copper."
Yeah.
And she's like very excited because she actually feels like a real cop, and all that is brought down when Bogo starts yelling at her.
So Weaselton is a great guy.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's Alan Tudyk, so how can he not?
Yeah, that's true.
But that's a very good point. That affirmation she's getting is coming from the adversary, right? What's being perceived as what she's fighting against, rather than the people who are there that should be supporting her, who you'd think, you know, this is where her motivation should come from. It's coming from the other side. And that's very interesting, because a lot of this in the past few minutes, we see sort of an in-depth look at Judy's character, and as a sort of, maybe you could say, coming of age sort of thing, where it's, you know, kid grows up in a rural area, goes to the big city, and life isn't what she expects, and she has all these expectations that are based off of what might be preconceived notions that are false, that life in Zootopia is a certain way. I'm going to be a cop, I'm going to make the world a better place. She gets there, it's not what she expects, and then it's hard for her to, you know, talk about that, especially with her family who, you know, was kind of against it to begin with.
Dad.
Yeah. No one wants to talk to their parents about that kind of thing. It's like you're going after this, you're not going to be a doctor or a lawyer, you're going to be, you know, an artist or something. And it's, how's that going? You don't want to tell them it's not going well, right?
You don't want to let them be proven right.
Stop talking about my life. If you guys don't know, I was actually studying medical school at Johns Hopkins, and once I realized that like selling stuff at pony conventions make me a lot of money, I started I've been doing this as a full-time job for 4 years, just selling artwork at pony cons. Yeah. I don't even tell my dad. He asked me what I'm doing for money. I've got Judy. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it.
Selling drugs.
I travel.
But the funny thing is, my dad, he calls my little pony conventions horse trade shows. So he's like, are you selling artwork at your horse trade show still? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
Oh boy.
All right, I think we could wrap up this minute.
Yeah.
So I guess before we go, we want to ask our special guest, AC, if you want to plug anything for any of our.
Yeah, and we will do a quick Q&A after that.
Cool. Well, I'm ACRacebest on YouTube, and I have a couple Zootopia specific videos on my YouTube channel. We also have a semi-perfect podcast that we talk about just about anything. We do that on Wednesdays. It's bi-weekly, but you can check that out on Twitter, Semi-Perfect Podcast. Again, I'm ACRacebest, and thank you guys for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming.
Oh. And Saber Spark, clap. Clap, Saber Spark.
And I believe your Semi-Perfect Podcast is also going to be in this room, not immediately following, but there's one between. It's going to be the Euro C Sucks podcast. There's 3 podcasts in a row in this room.
Awesome. Yeah.
So if you like podcasts, just stay seated.
We have a Semi-Perfect podcast coming up later. What time is it at, Sarah?
6:15.
Thank you, Sarah. So at 6:15, it should be a lot of fun, an hour and a half of just goofing off. So.
All right, excellent. Okay, so are we ready to do some Q&A?
Let's do Q&A.
All right.
All right, so let's
Everyone-
go ahead and make a line here in front of this microphone we got set up.
And while everyone's lining up, I will start calling some random numbers out. If you guys grab one of the business cards at the beginning of this
Yeah, and I'm gonna
presentation,
say if there
look
are
at your number.
any foals in the line, so if you have a foal badge, please go to the front.
Yep. And if you didn't get a business card, just raise your hand later, and we will give you some another chance to win a lottery afterwards.
Ooh.
All right. The first number we have 10. Who has 10?
Hey,
All right.
Mine looks like a 10.
We have one for you afterwards. All right. Next number is 34.
I was 34, yeah.
All right.
was that the one that we said was that a 9 or a 4?
Yeah.
Hey!
Look at
I
that.
told you, whatever works.
And we have a 4. All right.
Nice.
And let's do one more. 17. Alrighty. Alright, you guys come up and afterwards and pick up your poster. And if you guys want to get a poster afterwards, we're selling them for $5. So,
And that's at Chocolate Pony's booth in the vendor hall. It's 28.
yep, or you just come up here afterwards
Yeah,
and
or that.
sign for you.
That works.
So,
All right, so let's go ahead with questions.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of Zootopia, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but throughout the movie, they don't really show a lot of like aquatic animals. What are your guys?
Aquatic animal. Ooh.
We eat the aquatic animals.
yeah. There's also no avian creatures too, and no primates. And they said they chose that specifically because I guess they just assume that this is a world where humans are involved, so that means they have to exclude the primates. They didn't want to include insects because they want insects to be the protein of this world. And they said there's a potential we might see avian creatures like birds in the future, but they didn't exactly plan for it in this minute.
They were they wanted to specifically have animals that you can have clearly a prey or a predator. And
Right.
so some, like for example, primates, you know, they're like, oh, you can eat those leaves, that's cool. So we saw a little bit. Well, no, I guess that has nothing to do with what they're eating, but yeah. So that would probably be why with aquatic stuff we just never really ventured to an area where they would have seen a lot of fish or dolphins. Like they eat fish, we know that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of curious. Like, did they not evolve because they were stuck under the water for too long? It happened to me in high school. So.
Yeah, that's a very good point too. And yeah, there's no birds either. So sorry, featheries. The bird furries.
Featheries.
I think they like to be called avians.
No reptiles either. Yeah, they specifically said just mammals because they want, like you said, prey, predator mentality. So only creatures that you could really classify as predator and prey.
Yeah.
And within the mammal category, just so it keeps it nice and simple.
Makes it easy. All right, great question.
Thank
What-
you.
Hey, grab button.
All right, you can raise that mic up if you need,
Yeah, good idea. Or I'll just.
or not.
You could just do that.
All right, so this is a really quick one since this is a long line.
Cool.
So there was another anthropomorphic Disney movie that came out about a decade ago called Chicken Little.
Yeah. Oh man, I watched that recently actually.
A lot of people think that movie sucked. Can you explain in one sentence why you think that Zootopia is far superior?
It's Zootopia. 2 words. Nah, I mean, I'll be honest, I actually recall kind of enjoying Chicken Little. I mean, not to the point of like, it's a great movie, but like, I just was like, oh, I got some laughs. I don't know, I mean, there's a lot.
I always got that Bare Naked Ladies song stuck in my head from the beginning of that one. One little slip, doo-doo-doo.
I mean, there's only one reason why Zootopia is better. 2 words, Fox husband.
Yeah, Fox husband.
He made the movie, like, amazing. Isn't he adorable? Don't you just want to pet his little head? Every time we see a scene of him, he's just
That's
like...
not what you do with husbands, you pet their head.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting, yeah. No, I mean, it's I like your sign. I mean, writing, characters, animation, I could keep going, but I mean, yeah, this movie I felt like everything right.
Yeah.
So
I think it was very accessible to people. Like it was relatable to people in a really unique way. And that
Chicken Little was weird.
It was a bizarre movie. It was kind of out there. Zootopia, it was topical. You know, it dealt with like current issues almost in a certain way. But at the same time, it really was accessible to people in that you could relate to any character in the movie.
That's one sentence.
Oh, I forgot.
Thanks, Saber.
Yeah. Thanks. But yeah, so there's many reasons Zootopia is a better movie. Not that
In our
bad,
humble
but,
opinion.
yeah.
All right, thank you
Is
very much.
Moana better?
No.
Of course.
Hi, Sammy.
Hello there, Cole. Thanks for getting me set up with Zootopia Minute. It's a really fun podcast to listen to.
Thank you.
And one thing I gotta wonder is, how long do these minute podcasts last?
That's a great question. So this panel, we got an hour-long block, but every regular episode, if we're not doing it at a con or something, it tends to be between 20 and 30 minutes, generally speaking.
And we are actually contracted to finish this podcast. We actually have to watch the movie because the guys who started the format, the Star Wars Minute guy, said, anyone, you're free to copy our format. The only stipulation is we get to be a guest in 1 minute, and you have to finish the movie. So we're kind of stuck with this movie.
Yeah, so this was minute 30.
Did you have to sign in blood or something?
Yeah, firstborn child. All that,
okay.
But so this was minute 30. I believe there are 108 minutes total. So we're gonna be at.
That is correct. It's an hour and 48 movie.
Yeah.
Oh wait, are you gonna guys do the credits?
Yeah, we have to do that, but I'm like thinking ahead, thinking, what are we even gonna do? So,
well, actually, the Star Wars Minute guys, they when they have the credits rolling, they actually just invite special guests and they just talk about their memories of Star Wars.
Yeah,
Judy Hops.
Hi. How's it going?
Really good now.
You're super adorable, Judy.
Oh, thank you. So I just had a quick comment. Basically, you guys were talking about Little Rodentia and if they have their own police force or private contractors or whatever. There is actually official promotional material. Excuse me, promotional material that you can see them. You can see the Little Rodentia police force in it. I made a little post about it on the Reddit Zootopia subreddit a while back, like a long time ago. But it's definitely an actual thing.
It's a good subreddit.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the comment.
Right, yeah. So we're getting death stares from the back here.
Last question.
Last question.
Last question, guys.
How dare you with your top hat tell me what to do? All right.
All right, so we'll do one more and then we'll play our nice little outro music.
All right, this is a quick one. If Zootopia gets a sequel, do you think it'll be as well received as the first movie?
That's the hope.
That is the hope. The thing with sequels, generally speaking, are not. And that can sometimes just be because they're not really put out there to tell a story. They can sometimes be there to milk for profit in a certain way. That's why you get a lot of straight to video sequels from Disney. But if there's a Zootopia 2, it's not going to be that way, I'm sure. It's not going to be straight to video, absolutely not. So I'm really hoping to see what they do because I want to see this world develop more.
I'm curious what Saber's question was.
Saber, what was your question?
Where's the bathroom?
I knew it was gonna be good. I knew it was gonna be good.
Right in the back, and it's right behind the 88 right there. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you all so much for coming to our panel. This is the first time we've done it live. Did you guys have a good time? Awesome. Chaco, cue up. Get ready to cue up the music. We gotta cue up the music. Music. All right, guys. So if you enjoyed Zootopia Minute, please give us a like on our Facebook page. We've got some links showing up there. And we've got YouTube. YouTube is the best place you can find us. That's youtube.com/c/Zootopia Minute. We just got that custom URL in time for the con. I'm so happy about that. But again, yeah, please check us out. We are on Twitter as well, @Zootopia Minute. And yeah, that'll pretty much be it. Again, guys, just thank you so much for coming and watching. We had a blast. Please enjoy the rest of Everfree Northwest.